Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and this week we are going to be reviewing One Piece Chapter 1111, The Sun's Shield. So please like and subscribe if you have not. Leave a comment if to give your thoughts on this chapter or our review and any of our feedback. I'm Akainu Fanboy, the other guy is Geboss, and we have this color spread that shows prominently the characters of the Egghead Island arc of the Straw Hat Pirates with Kuma, Bonnie, and Vegapunk.
I was kind of concerned at first when I saw this, because I was like, okay, I see Bonnie and I didn't see any of the others. I was like, oh no, is Oda really gonna make Bonnie join the Straw Hats? Is this what we're going for? But then I saw Kuma and Vegapunk.
Well, I guess you can make the argument because the other two are dead.
Yeah, I mean, Vegapunk's definitely dead, but we don't know what's ultimately going to happen with Kuma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True. Why are they eating French fries though?
Is there a reason not to eat French fries?
I usually don't eat them on top of jellyfish. That's only like on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Cool color spread though, regardless. And we go into the Sun's Shield, a looming threat. And now I think I'm blanking on this name at the top of my head, but he's the elder star with the long gray beard and everything, the taller one. And
that one's Mars.
He immediately Mars. Okay, yeah. He immediately focuses then on Jinbei, and Jinbei makes a remark that this hockey is unreal, and he goes to rescue Zoro, his fellow Nakama, and Debarabuchi stands up. He is in fact not down.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
So before we focus on that, so it looks like Mars got into the lavostratum, I guess by just using his regenerative abilities, because it showed like from Luffy you would get hurt going in and out of the top of the dome.
Yep.
So but yeah, Lucci's up. He's not knocked out.
Nope. I wanted to say he's good to go, but it does look like he has to fight at him still, where you see him growling, wanting to continue the fight, which I find interesting. Zoro's still kind of like unnerved by the situation, and Zoro looks a little roughed up himself. Not to the same degree of Lucci, just in terms of like the wounds, but he has scruffed up pretty badly. He's more scruffed up than we usually see Zoro from a fight, basically. You know, because Zoro rarely, if ever, gets hurt.
I mean, he still doesn't have his bandana on though.
True. or the Zob pills haven't been unlocked either. So, but so Jinbei has to get him out of there. And he apologizes to Lucci, and I think the reason why he's apologizing to Lucci is like he doesn't feel like he's either like, I don't want to interrupt, I'm sorry for interrupting the fight, or sorry that I'm attacking. Like a 2 versus 1's kind of unhonorable when you're injured, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I did think it was kind of weird that he said sorry, but
he's super polite though. That's his thing.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, like during Marineford, he wasn't apologizing whenever he was cutting in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe it's just something Oda wants to develop more from him as a Straw Hat. That's kind of his like gag, if you will, you know. But like, or just kind of part of his character. But so he hits him with a 5,000 brick attack, and Lucci just seems to be blown back, and it may just seem like an attack to just kind of get away. I don't know if it was really directed at him, and then Lucci kind of like lowers down power. Yeah,
from how I read it, it looked like it was like creating a smoke screen basically to get out. Because we've seen the power of the attack before, and usually Jinbei has to like stand his ground and like power it up. So maybe this is like a lesser version of it.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting feat for Rob Lucci in terms of power scaling, because as we've noted many times, he fought Gear 5 Luffy, he got knocked out by Stussy, he fought the Seraphim, and then he took a he fought Zoro for an extended period of time, took a Conqueror Haki attack from
Zoro.
Zoro, right? And now he's still standing on top of all this.
Yeah.
That's a significant feat. Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the truly awakened devil fruits, like we saw in Impel Down. Those were the only other like awakened devil fruits that we saw. But they seem to have a higher base of durability on top of the already Zoan's higher durability.
And that was kind of the expectation for Kaido's crew and everything, that all of the Flying Six were going to get back up, the commanders were going to get back up, but none of them ended up getting back up. And so it is interesting to see how Lucci's the one that gets back up, but nobody else in Kaido's crew,
If they got back up, then we would still be in Wano.
True. And I also, we were talking about this before, but like, I think narratively, I don't see why Oda would bring back Lucci just to kind of get taken out by Zoro. I think Oda very much values Lucci as a character. That's why he brought it back in the story in such an intimate way, not just like a quick panel slash, but like he's like an active part of the story who's still interacting with the main characters of the story. So he's got a lot of panel time this entire arc. He's been a significant role, and and then he's in contact with Mars right here, which I thought was interesting, and the look on his face too was crazy.
I was just gonna say that one panel where Mars comes in, he's like, "Where's York?" And he's like, "What am I looking at?"
Yeah.
That's like,
it was interesting.
I was gonna say that's like genuine fear.
It's genuine fear, and I think what I found interesting was like, so he's surprised too. So he's never seen this form of the Gorosei. If I remember correctly, Kizaru didn't have the same reaction as Lucci, and there didn't seem to be a sense of surprise with Kizaru. So I don't know if that's because of Kizaru's kind of trolly, laid-back nature, that he doesn't tend to show surprise, even in those circumstances, or he had already seen the Gorosei in this capacity to look like this.
Well, I don't know when he would have had the chance to have seen them, because this was like when Saturn came down, he was like, "Oh, this is the first time in forever that the
have come to the surface."
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Maybe Kizaru is just kind of more privy to the goings on because he's an admiral. But I'm not sure.
And so I think what I find interesting, I'm going to kind of go towards the end of this conversation. We could talk about the meat of it, but I think how I'm kind of looking at a lot of this is like, basically with his character, it's like we were talking about kind of a moral evolution, but not in the sense that he becomes a hero, maybe kind of like a more independent anti-villain hero, because we saw him as a complete total slave in Eni's lobby and as like a little kid growing up. But then after you see him get defeated, you see him defending innocent civilians in the CP9 cover story, where he defeats pirates and saves them. And you also see the CP9 characters being amicable towards the civilians and fairly friendly and stuff. So, and then he wanted to get payback on the government for trying to extinguish him later. And then somehow, some way, we see him back in the service of the world government too, and he kind of seems back to normal. But we've seen some slight character changes even in this arc. And so what I'm kind of saying, like, if you were to change his moral compass, I think the reason why I like this panel, it's like kind of this idea, he's like, I'm serving a demon in a way, like that's my role in this, because remember at the start of this arc, he was saying like with Vegapunk, why are we killing like the smartest man in the world, basically, right? And then Kaku and Stussy were like, well, don't ask questions, right? Because Lucci never asked questions before. And so now you kind of see him seeing like, oh, wait, I'm kind of like serving pure evil. And he's starting to see evil that was kind of greater than the evil that he was embodying earlier on in the series, So I kind of think that's part of the shock here, in my humble opinion, And as you kind of go on to these next panels, you still see like the covert spy nature of him like break out immediately, where he's like, he gives all the information, which I like seeing that. He's more than a powerhouse, but he's like a really smart, intelligent agent. He just rattles this off, gets over his fear. But then he begs for Kaku not to be killed too, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a further degree of fleshing out of his character too, where he's changing more. He has more of a human side, because, again, back in the CP9 cover art story, you don't really see as much with Lucci, but you see it with the other agents. They liked hanging out with those innocent civilians who healed them, and like all the little kids were using Kaku's giraffe form as a slide and everything,
Yeah, well, that's because Lucci was knocked out for most of it. They were trying to raise money for his hospital bills.
Yeah, but they've been portrayed less lethal, and all the red. I watched film Red recently. Like Bluno and Khalifa are a lot more agreeable in that movie too. Mm-hmm. You don't really get a sense of antagonism at all. They're just kind of friends and friendly with one another. Mm-hmm. And one thing I will say that I don't think Kaku's going to get eliminated in this next section is because Kaku was one of the few agents that showed remorse over him choosing the government over staying in the Galley La Company, basically, where you see him having a flashback of him jumping off the fountain and all the civilians are cheering him on and everything, and he kind of showed remorse, like, I really like that lifestyle and everything, so I think I've always kind of been of the opinion that Kaku's eventually going to become a way better person, because he just kind of seems like the nicest person out of the Cypherpool group, on a natural level. So, but yeah, I know that was a lot right there to say, but like I kind of, those are kind of the general ways I view Kaku and Lucci, and I think Lucci's kind of going to be on a path right now to be more and more disillusioned with the government.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that stood out for me was the whole Kaku thing, because him basically saying please spare him from your rampage or the destruction of the island or whatever. He I always think about the main catalyst, or the big story from Lucci's past, where he's sent in and he has to rescue all the civilians and he ends up murdering them because it was easier. Compared that to the Lucci that's on screen during this chapter, and it's shown that he's grown a lot, even if it's just for his basically his crew, his group that he's with.
Yeah,
which makes me like him more. I was not a huge fan. His fight with Luffy was cool and whatever, but I thought he was kind of shallow and one note before Egghead. So so I like seeing more of this side of him as an actual person.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that,
and I was also gonna say that I think you called it from last week that Mars is going after York too. Because I think that's all the way at the end of the chapter, but
yeah, and Lucci does mention this there, Seraphim as well.
Yeah. So that's two things that are on Mars's radar. So.
Yeah, and so, but just to be clear, I don't think Lucci's going to become an ally to Luffy. I think we saw them ally temporarily, but it was just to get rid of the Seraphim. Yeah. And I think he will maybe lead the government at some point, but he's not going to join the revolutionaries because he's useful and a good fighter and gets stuff done, so he wouldn't be a good fit there.
Yeah.
But I could kind of see him be a type of Mihawk-esque character where he's his own kind of mini group serving out justice in the way he sees fit, basically.
Well, I think just going end game, the whole world government and the whole, I think, Cypherpol is just going to need a whole rework, and he could be at the head of Cypherpol if they even need a part of the government for that. Like, if that's going to even exist in the new order.
Yeah, right. So I think other than that, I don't think it doesn't exist. I think it would kind of be like the CP9 cover story, basically, where him and his group kind of travel around and say people as they see fit, kind of thing, you know? Because I think something essential to his character, he does hate pirate evil.
Mm-hmm.
He does hate some form of criminality and evil, right? Even though he's a hypocrite and he can't see it in himself in the world government. And I think that that's just kind of interesting here. He kind of sees the evil up close with Mars, right? And it kind of shocks him a little bit, like, oh wait, maybe like I'm starting to see my own, how messed up I am as a person, you know, instead of just seeing how messed up. Because he's like quick to point faults, like with the soldiers. He like kills them in his flashback because he's like, you guys are cowards. Now you die for being a coward. Like, he's really merciless towards other people, but he doesn't like look at his own faults or the faults of the world government, you know? So those were kind of like the general points I got there. I didn't think we were going to talk about that part as long as he did, but the more and more I kind of think about it, the more I'm really impressed with how Oda's handling his character for this arc, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Zoro fans took another L because I guess that wasn't a one shot, but continuously.
He had to be rescued by Jinbei from base Lucci.
Yeah, that's canon. You can't deny that at all. Can't deny that. So we see Luffy with Dory and Bragi here. Thoughts on this section?
I mean, it's just kind of a lot of fighting and going back and forth, but I like the fact that we thought that the Giants were gonna make like this heroic last stand and everything, but it's like, oh no, we're just here to collect you and get out of here. We're not gonna. We're just gonna run for it.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, because there's the whole thing, like they need to be there for Usopp's character too.
And they're pirates at the end of the day. They're pirate giants, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The question is, are they gonna get away though?
Yeah. Well, it seems like the in the little display of the island, it shows that the goal is the Elbaf ship, but the Sunny's still up on the Labostratum, trapped by the shield. So how's it going to get down and like go? Because probably the Sunny could fit on the Elbaf ship.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of getting that all there. But I like that Workery displayed more feats during this, like with his Conqueror's Lucky Roar. That was pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
No,
that was pretty cool.
That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I'd say like it is okay. So it's a feat for them if they're their own distinct entities and not extensions of Emu. If they are extensions of Emu, that just may be a manifestation of his Conqueror's Hockey in one instance there too, and it might be weaker because it's an extension of him and not him up close. So I kind of the two thoughts I have there.
I think that it's gonna be their own individual characters. But yeah, I didn't expect his tusks to turn into swords either. Like,
Oda.
I want to see that part of the devil fruit.
Yeah, it's interesting because they show like something impressive, and then they kind of get a little embarrassed right after. Oh, I'm going to say embarrassed, but you know, he gets blocked off. Seems relatively easily by Bragi and Dory, and then they give him a good hit, you know, and then he goes flying again. So, and then Saturn does his attack as well, right? And Luffy more or less gets to kind of easily reflected. So it's hard to say, like, is Luffy this broken, or are they like not as strong, or are they more gimmicky? But it's kind of hard to say they're just gimmicky because one just used Conqueror's Hockey, you know?
Well, toward the end of this section here, Dory and Bragi are like, oh, they're gone though, and Luffy's like, no, we have to hurry. These guys can't die. So Luffy seems to be like cognizant of the fact that they can't beat him in a straight up fight. He's like, no matter what I do, they keep coming back. So, also I think the fact that, like, if you pit any of the Gorosei up against like regular combatants, like even like normal sized people, it's gonna be hard to fight against. But since it's specifically up against giants, like, they can block these big attacks and hit them hard.
Yeah, it just seems they don't have much in the way of offensive output, but their deadliness kind of comes more from their moderate offense and then their insane defense, and that they can just keep on taking hits. And I think in that sense you could say they're gimmicks a little bit, you know? So
I don't know.
I guess
again, if you put them in perspective with any other like combatants in the series, like put them up against like even if they were attacking Fishman Island right now, like that's post-time skip.
Yeah.
Like put them up against like Hody Jones's army, they would knock them all out. Like,
sure,
easily.
totally. I guess like I don't see them at like a Kaido Big Mom level. I guess if that makes sense in terms of offensive capabilities. Like, and I think I can be changed and convinced on that. It's just he did a Conqueror's Hockey kind of attack, and it didn't seem to do much. You know, it was like, but I do find it interesting how only one of them displayed Conqueror's Hockey so far. So is he kind of like the lead Gorosei potentially, or do you think Saturn just doesn't have it, and maybe a couple of them do? You know,
no, I think they all have it, and it's just how they choose to use it. Because I would suspect that like when oh no, like even earlier on, like if you go back to the first page, like when Mars is breaking through the barrier, it looks like he's using Conqueror's Hockey there. Like you see the black lightning coming out there.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think they all have it.
Yeah. So I'm still undecided on their like power level offensively. Like I go back and forth on the gimmick thing, but they do look more impressive after this chapter. So I will grant that to them and everything. But it does kind of seem like Luffy and the Giants are just kind of having a fun time, which is funny. And that while it looks like Bonnie is going to be having some issues pretty soon with these 3 vice admirals and everything. So I'm curious to see what happens, to see if they're just going to get fodderized too. But it looks like Sanji's not too far off behind with Vegapunk, so
yeah,
it looks like he can kind of help to save the day.
Yeah, and Frankie's with Bonnie, so maybe Frankie will do something. I like that we're seeing the Giants and everything, but again, I miss when the Straw Hats like actually did a lot of stuff. Like they were
it's more or less just been
they were the main focus of the conflict.
Right, yeah, it's mainly been Zoro, Sanji, Luffy for this arc so far. It has even Jinbei hasn't really done much. You know, he saved Zoro's life from getting killed by Lucci, which is impressive, but you know, I still think there's more that he could do as a third commander, you know, so
yeah.
But then York is freaking out. Where's the room displayed on the monitor? Yeah, monster, it spoke, who are you, leave me be. So it looks like York's mainly going to go to that room. I forget how close by York is in proximity to the Seraphim here.
So
maybe Lucci specified.
So York, I think, is in the same room as Kaku, which is like the top of the, or like the main control room of the Labostratum, and I think all the Seraphim and everything are in the basement.
Yeah, with 85 cyber agents, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting. So he's definitely possible for him to just quickly go down there and activate all them too, which would put them, I think, would put the Giants in even more of an issue. Now with this next character, it's more of a debate whether he will be an issue or not. So when it gets to Kizaru, we see him. The Marines are asking, "Are you hurt? Let us treat you." And he says, "My wounds run deep. Just let me rest already." And then you see another Marine. We should attend to them right away. Thoughts here?
I don't want to read too much into it. I think that he's just like tired of this whole conflict. Like, he had to take out Vegapunk, and I think he's at this point he's just like, I'm too emotionally like, just let me like emotionally sit with this. I don't want to do anything more.
Yeah, I do find it notable that he keeps on covering his eyes whenever we see him in a panel. So we've only seen him twice in this position on the ship. Right when he hits it immediately, and he still hasn't moved at all in the same position. So, and I've made this reference a couple times. I think it's like Film Z when he killed Zephyr, the former Admiral Zephyr, where as soon as he says "Sayonara, Sensei," his glasses get completely pitch yellow, and you don't get to see his eyes at all, while all the Marines are basically crying more or less. And so, I think this is kind of more of that same similar detail where I think he might be crying right now, but he's just purposely hiding his eyes. Because I think it's kind of a play on word. I mean, like, maybe we'll see Sandman talk about the Japanese here. It's like a special play on words, but
yeah, I want to see the official translation.
Yeah, I am an Admiral fanboy. I'll put my bias out there, but I think there are enough literary clues right here for Oda to suggest that there is a degree to which he is mentally nerfed. And I'm not trying to take away anything from Luffy, but his fighting spirit is not completely in this, and I think we've seen that over and over and over again. The idea that I think he's just going to be down to a lethal way right now by Luffy, I think that's a little bit overstepping, even if you do think Luffy is stronger than Kizaru, basically. I think there's like clearly a lot of emotional stuff going on with Kizaru right now, basically. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. With him.
Which makes him an interesting character.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be putting out a lot for the rest of this arc. I think he's tapped out.
Yeah, I think he's just like, I'm done with this shit. Yeah. Like I kill one of my friends, don't make me kill another kind of thing. That's the vibe I get from it, at least. Whether he pulls a Kuzan with a Ohara type of parallel, that remains to be seen. I'm open to it. We'll see what happens. But he's definitely changing like Lucci's changing. And I think it's interesting to see both of them display a similar level of development and evolution on a character level, especially when Lucci kind of compared himself to Kizaru when he first fought Zoro, saying, "You guys can't accomplish this mission if both Kizaru and I are here." So I think that is fascinating that they're both displaying a similar moral evolution right here. Mm-hmm. So.
Do you wish, though, just random thought, do you wish that this had gone to any of the Straw Hats? This level of character thing. I know the Straw Hats are already like well-established characters or whatever, but like Chopper hasn't done anything since like Punk Hazard, so.
I think Sanji's had more than enough character.
Yeah, but I mean, like the ones who need it.
So Zoro. Yeah. So what? I'm sorry to crop on Zoro, but unironically, I think he's like one of the. I'd say he's down there with Chopper and Brook for having like the least amount of development as a character on the crew. As a character. Yeah. Frankie's more developed. Robin's more developed. Kind of one tone a little bit. I know she's had some development. I'll give her that, you know. And then Nami has been a while, but she's had a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing really post time skip, you know. Luffy's Luffy,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. Like, you know, Jinbei's had more than enough development throughout his whole entire character. I think but that wasn't as him as a Straw Hat. That was him before as a Straw Hat.
Yeah.
And then who else is left? Usopp. Well, haha, Usopp having any type of screen time. Yeah, there you go. That's for Elbaf. If Elbaf happens,
Elbaf's right around the corner.
That happens. We'll see. You know, this might be the biggest fake out in history right here. We're going to just skip.
I would be pissed if.
You got the Giants.
But speaking of Giants, before we waste too much time on that topic, we finally see the giant robot. On the move after dozens of chapters.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where this leads. Especially because the whole thing is like, forgive me, Joyboy, is his So
like Zunisha.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if like I need to go back and see specifically what Vegapunk said about this, because it would be interesting if like this has some sort of like artificial intelligence from something all the way back then, like kind of like an equivalent of Vegapunk from the Void Century. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have survived this long and been reactivated with Joyboy coming back.
Right.
But yeah, finally. And it says that it's way bigger than a giant. So it's even bigger than like the Gorosei at this point.
Orange is in the suit.
Wait, what?
Confirmed. Orange Jr.
Oh yeah. I mean, it kind of has the same horns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still going. He's just Vegapunk was killing him after Marineford.
Yeah. I mean, there's that theory that Oars was Joyboy.
Oh, good.
But who knows?
So do you think he's gonna try to kill Luffy? Is that the apology, or is the apology for Moonbeam period? Or is it just like apologizing for something in the past?
So what I think it is that like it's failed its mission, or it's still continuing its mission. Like it woke up and realized that like maybe it has a thing where it can track how long it's been, and it's like, oh, forgive me, Joyboy, it's been what, like 800 years since you were alive, and I'm still not done with my duty, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I kind of hypothesize.
Yeah, so it's cool to see him up. I don't mean to hit a dead horse here, but I wish Luffy's life was more in danger from the 5 Elder Stars on a physical combat level, where it would be like, okay, good, he's getting help. Because I guess him getting an additional help kind of seems like overkill when his life personally doesn't seem much in the way of danger. So,
I mean,
yeah, that's just my little personal gripe there, I guess. But yeah.
I mean, I don't think that the Gorosei are even going all out, honestly.
I guess that could be said, but I'm just like, why are you waiting? I guess if you're the Gorosei, you know, like this could ruin your entire organization, everything, right? You guys built. You should be going all out right now. Like the fact that you guys all teleported here, you know, and I decided they aren't as strong as we think, or Oda's in this weird predicament where he's trying to maintain the swag and the power and the gravitas of Luffy, while trying to create a feeling of suspense. But you can't get a feeling of suspense without Luffy's life being in danger. And I don't really feel Luffy's life being in danger at all. Hey, he's kind of laughing up a Bragiadori, you know? So I would kind of say, like, if this person's here to help, this entity is here to help Luffy, and I just kind of feel like there isn't enough suspense right now for me to feel like, okay, good, he's here, woohoo, relief, you know what I mean? So, and I'm not trying to say like overly negative thing, but I would just say that's one critique I would kind of level a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get it. But it's a lot to think about though, with the giant, and I mean, we'll definitely have time to think about it. With 3
How do you say that?
Yeah, 3-week break for Oda, which I think he's taking it off because Akira Toriyama passed, and I think everyone in the manga community was affected by it.
Yeah.
Like all the authors were, so I think he's just taking his time out, because I don't think he was much, like, maybe he's like 18 years younger, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that much younger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't blame him for wanting to take off this time, but it just takes the fans are not the kindest when it comes to this. Like,
no.
some of the fans aren't, like, they just kind of want the chapters and that's it. They don't really think about the author.
For sure. And I will say this, I'm okay with it because every chapter's been fire, you know, so like I have no issue with it at all.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about the anime, but they just need to start animating cover stories, as I've been saying for years now. So yeah, exactly.
But yeah, good chapter, deserved break for Oda, and I'm excited to see what comes next.
Quite so. So yeah, excellent chapter, everyone. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. If you have not, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We will be having a lot of content coming out these next couple weeks. Sorry for the delay. We just had some personal stuff going on. And so we will definitely be theory videos, predictions, and we might be reviewing the manga of Jujutsu Kaisen soon. So stay tuned for that. So anyways, thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, and you guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
See ya.